Welcome to Reunite with Self podcast. I'm your host, Rukan. Here, we will be discovering and unraveling what is truly holding you back. We will put the puzzle together and give you clarity on how and what you can do to create massive shift in your life so you start creating the life you always envisioned for yourself. There is no more waiting. Whether it is liberating from dysfunctional family patterns or parenting tools and tips that actually make the difference, we will be diving into the truth and core of things that are simple and which yet no one talks about. I will be sharing with you all the things that would have changed my life massively if I heard any one of these episodes. A new world is awakening, and true bliss, harmony, and peace is possible on this earth. And my mission is to bring you closer to that, one step at a time. In this safe space, I will hold your hand and give you courage and certainty that you can shift anything and everything in your life. It is time we break the pattern. Whether you want to be the parent you never had or make a shift in your life so you don't play small any longer, you will find the support and guidance in this space. My intention is for you to find answers within yourself while you listen to this podcast, so you feel the bliss of reuniting with your true essence, with self, with so much love and compassion and courage. From my heart to yours, let's keep it rockin'. My gorgeous listener, welcome to another episode on Reunite with Self. Thank you so much for tuning in. This is going to be a short and sweet one. I really wanted to talk about this because I had an epiphany, a moment. I think it was last week, and I was like, I have to talk about this on the pod because it was something that I was reminded of again, and it was so powerful. And I just remembered this truth. And so we're going to talk about the interesting sign that you are in a safe place when you share any part of your story today. And it was a moment that I felt that I was around safe people when this happened. This did not happen to me maybe at all in my life for the first whatever years. And this started happening to me actually in the last 2 years. And when it first happened, I remember my nervous system feeling calming down, although I was talking about like very traumatic things. And I was still like in the deep work. I was still like recovering from a very recent trauma. And so let's get to it. I know that I'm in a safe place, and I know that I am around safe people when I talk about my story, any part of my story where I had been hurt and where I know that it comes from a place like out of love. When I experience this, when I tell my story, if the people listening, if the people around me have no tolerance for what I went through, then I know I'm in a safe place. If when I tell a part of my story where I was disempowered, when there is, I believe, narcissistic abuse, if there is anything that does not come from the truth, that comes from anything like narcissism, anything that is out of fear, anything that asks me to be smaller or makes me smaller when you look from a place of empathy, logic, like it doesn't matter. It's always the same thing for me now that it makes sense. Like when there is something disempowering, when there is some kind of abuse, like it's the person telling you their story. And when people have no tolerance, like they cannot tolerate. They're not asking me to find excuses for the other person's behavior. When they're not playing the whatever card, like, oh, that's your whatever, that's like your family, that's your mother, that's your father, that's your, I don't know, maybe child, that's your sister, that's your brother, that's your whatever. Like this happens so much in Turkey and in conversation in Turkish. I know that it's very different in different cultures, but I know it happens a lot in the US too. Not as extreme as in Turkey, by the way, but it does. And people around you and the people that you would call like your closest ones might ask you to abandon yourself in the name of love, where there is like no love in that moment either. And they want you to tolerate and accommodate and minimize your feelings. And just like they're so scared to face what you went through because they're not willing to face their own shit. But I believe it should not even be parallel with that. Like that is never an excuse for me. And I also believe that even though I might not be, this is an example, even though I might not be able to put healthy boundaries in my life, I am now. And I'm willing to learn so much more and put even healthier boundaries for a fulfilling life. But even though, as an example, if it's someone else, if it's someone that does not want to, or that doesn't even, that they're not even aware, they're not putting healthy boundaries, they're choosing maybe not to put those healthy boundaries, you can still support someone else if they want to put healthy boundaries. If they're telling you the story that they were hurt, they were abused, they were disempowered, they were whatever. If they had any challenging emotions around something, that means if they're telling you this, that they've experienced it a lot. Like maybe the one event that they're telling you, or one story, or one example, or one pattern they're telling you, it's only the tip of the iceberg. It's only the tip of the iceberg. I repeat again, it's only the tip of the iceberg. Like imagine the tip of the iceberg and imagine the iceberg itself. Or you can like do another example. That's just like what we always use for this stuff. It's only tip of the iceberg. It means it's so much more than what this person is telling you, than what this person remembers, than what this person is leaning into, that they have the courage to, that they feel the power to, that they feel the strength to. This is only like a tip of the iceberg. So I feel safe, like I know I'm in a safe place when people around me, and it can be my partner too. I might be talking about something that happened in my family in the past or now. And if they have no tolerance, and if they can get angry for me, if they can get angry for what happened to me, what happens is so interesting. You calm down when your partner, I'm just giving you this example. It can be your partner. It can be your friend. It can be any other family member. When you tell your story, when you tell something, when you say, this person said this to me, this person like used to say this to me all the time. They used to do this, blah, blah, blah. They should feel so much, like they should feel angry. And what happens is you calm down when the other person feels angry. It's such a bad place when you have to prove yourself. And that takes you back to the codependency. If you have to prove yourself, I think that's not a safe place. It's not acceptable for me anymore. If I say something, the person has to believe it. Like if it's my own experience in this journey of life, I don't need to prove my experience that it was a challenge. And it's a very healthy relationship if the person get angry for you. And it's so interesting that it works the other way around than what most people in my life, let's say, they used to think this. That they have to like ask me to accommodate in a way that makes sense to them, but doesn't make any sense to me. They just ask me to minimize my feelings and, abandon myself, but I'm not going to do that again. I'm never going to abandon myself just because it makes you feel more comfortable. They might be afraid of whatever. It's just their excuse. It cannot be the reason for your behavior, but it's just their excuse, like they're scared of your anger, whatever, that it will get hold of you or whatever it is. The interesting part is that you get more angry, you feel more alone when you have to prove yourself, or when the people ask you to just, I don't know, let it go, accommodate it. That's your, whatever, that's your parent, that's your whatever. Like, it has nothing to do with that. Like, and I was in a conversation like this, and I was like, I'm so happy that there is healthy people in the world. And I know there is so many healthy people in the world. This was not an exception. And I'm so grateful that I'm making the choices to be around healthy people now. It's not easy. I've changed my life tremendously. It's not easy at all. It's like the most challenging things I'm doing now, but it's so worth it because I know that if I listen to my heart, I'm going to be surrounded with more and more safe people. It's like it's going to be a flood of safe people around me. And what's interesting is that you can let it go more easily if X people want you to let it go. You can have a healthier relationship with whoever, like you're talking about, if there is any chance, by the way. If you are surrounded by safe people like this that does not want you to minimize your feelings or find excuses or respond to you in a way that asks you to minimize your feelings. Like, as an example, when you tell a part of your story, if the person listening responds to you by, but they love you, but they have good intentions for you, that's not a safe place. Because what I'm telling you has nothing to do with that. And I hope that my hope for you would be that you can't even think of people like this around you. But if you do have people like this around you, like if it rings a bell about any kind of like experience, I want to confirm to you, like, you leave that conversation feeling icky, alone more than ever, more angry, more confused, like helpless, disempowered, all the BS. You are not in a safe conversation. You are not in a safe place. That person might not be a safe person. And you can raise your standards. Like, you can give yourself the permission to raise your standards to be around safe people. Because I have seen that when you are around safe people, they know, they are familiar with what a healthy relationship is. What the family they come from, it doesn't have to be perfect for them to know the difference. And they will never say something like, they're your family, whatever, but they love you. They have good intentions. They were doing it for your, like, they will never respond like this. They know how it should have felt. And the person listening was like, wow, Rukan, wow, like, this is so different. Like, I felt really safe, and I thank them for that. So I'll leave you with this, so you know you are in a safe place if people listening do not have tolerance for what you went through. They do not have the tolerance because their standards are high and they know you deserve great things. I love you. I'll see you next week. My gorgeous listener, if you had any takeaways from this episode or from this podcast in general, I would love to know. Please share this episode with a few loved ones right now. You never know how they can benefit from something so small. And please take a screenshot of this episode and share on IG, tagging me at Khewella. That is Khewella. Kevela. That is my goddess wear brand, my Instagram page. I would love to know what your takeaway was, or something you found inspirational, or a confirmation you believe in as well. That would make my day. And you can always DM me if you have a topic or a certain question in mind that you want me to talk about. And give me a 5-star rating if you feel like it. That would help this podcast immensely to get the word out. I love you. See you on the next one. I want to see you shine your brightest.